What do you want?
The year I was 8, I developed a consuming curiosity about him. The garbage man. The kids all called him that. He'd been scavenging around town ever since anyone could remember. Yet nobody knew a thing about him except that he was pretty old. I knew him only by the sound of his step and by the town kids' jingle that followed him down the alleys. Once, I followed him to the other side of town, way out to his rotting old house. I was reading Nancy Drew girl detective books at the time. Then one day it struck me. Never once had I seen his face. Was it, I wondered, so ugly or deformed that it could make your heart stop? Or was there something so sinister and secret about his past, he was hiding his face from the world? Though I managed to sneak up close enough to him to smell something like cloves and chicken feathers, but each time the big moment came, I was unable to look at his face. But I was determined. It soon grew into a silent game between us. He began to be on the lookout for me, stopping at the sound of my footsteps and peering about. My mother became alarmed, but her concern only fired my imagination even more. When my older sisters found out about it...
Say, listen, Cher, is that all you want? Just a close look at his face? Got an idea.
For a long time afterwards, I sat there and cried. He hadn't been ugly or deformed. His had simply been an old face, laced with wrinkles and bags, his eyes red and runny and popped out in fear. No mystery, no deep, dark, sinister secret, just the face of an old man. I'm an adult now, or what doctors might label a rapidly deteriorating specimen, in view of the fact that we spend 1/4 of our lives growing up and 3/4 of it growing old. A thought that doesn't particularly thrill me. Like most Americans, I'm not delighted by the prospects of getting old. As a child, a couple of years as a nurse, and writing a book about aging, I was always involved with old people in one way or another. In the small town where I grew up, they seemed a natural part of everyday life in an almost 19th century way. I was lucky. I got to know each of my grandparents. They occupied important roles in our family. I felt closer to them than my own parents sometimes, not just because of the marvelous stories they told, but because of their silences as well, special moments that allowed me to spin my fantasies about their presence. My grandfather Willie Curtin once referred to old age as a long sentence with no time off for good behavior. When Grandfather Willie wasn't wandering in and out of rooms or conversations, providing what Grandmother Carrie saw as perpetual disruption, he'd fascinate us kids with stories of his early years, as a homesteader, boxer, then railroad man, and auctioneer. During the trek to their new homestead, their wagon broke down and the young family had to walk several long miles in the snow. Willie, carrying his infant son Paul, fell through the ice into a creek. Or his grandfather told it, I dropped little Paul into the creek to save the suitcase. Because, you see, poor folks will always have another baby. But I had only one good suit. Carrie was a saint. Though all pioneer grandmothers are saints, I suspect. Whenever Willie teased her about their courting days, she'd giggle like a schoolgirl and flee. Carrie and Willie. When he died, they'd been married over 65 years. My mother's mother, we called her Granny, had left her husband and 5 children late in their marriage. A scandal. And in our house she was spoken of in whispers. I was forbidden from asking questions about the elderly men she called friends, who sometimes accompanied her. As for Fred, the husband Granny deserted, I can barely recall his face, but I'll never forget his hands. They were calloused, ridged, and misshapen, but something pure and beautiful would flow from them the moment his fingers touched a piece of wood. Fred was a carpenter, and also one of the leading town drunks. At 65, the doctors warned he'd soon be dead if he didn't stop drinking. At age 82, while on his way to fix someone's barn and groggy from a night on the town, Grandpa was hit and killed by a truck. Still, it could have been worse. Fred might have ended up in the old Doyle place where he'd been sent to dry out a couple of times. Poor old Fred, the gossips would have said, had to put him away in the old folks' home. I have memories of having gone there, but can't recall why. Perhaps to visit Grandpa Fred.
Now you come see us again. Come back and see us again, child. We'll have a party next time. We'll have a party next time.
I did go back a couple of times. Someone there taught me to embroider, and someone else gave me a recipe for nut bread, which I promptly lost. But after a while, I stopped going. Except on Halloween, when I joined the other kids, running up and pounding on the door of the haunted house to prove I wasn't scared. When I first mentioned writing a book about aging and old people I've known, friends always said, "How nice," while their faces registered, "How dull." Then invariably they'd brighten, adding, "Hey, you've got to meet my great-aunt Sadie or my grandpa, 87 and so feisty." Our image of old age abruptly changes when it comes to those who are close to us, whom we look upon as special cases. But are they? Between them, they were receiving $180 a month in old age assistance at the time. With this, a vegetable garden and some chickens, they managed, saving on utilities by cooking their one big daily meal on a wood stove and going to bed with the sun. I met them when I one day stopped to ask for directions during my last year at nursing school. Granny Sicky was 92, and for years she'd been looked after by Aunt Mary, who was 70. Theirs was a relationship begun naturally. Granny Sicky needed someone to care for her, and Aunt Mary needed someplace to live. Together, the two of them had been making more out of less for a long time.
You know, the last years of a woman should be spent settling what's inside. Early on, a woman is all-time busy and cluttered with outside things, with her looks, her husband, her children. She just hasn't the chance to be private.
A bit more in private time than you counted on, maybe.
That's a fact. Still, these years I value just the same. I do miss reading. And I wonder whether the look of the hills have changed any. Well, I married 2 husbands, 3 children. But considering, it's been pretty good till now. You know, I'm very worried about Aunt Mary. She doesn't move as quick these days, you know. Her arms feel skinny to me. If she gets sick, well, I don't know how I'll take care of her. Coming, Aunt Mary. Very nice social ladies, but they pry so. That you, May Phillips? Rita?
Morning. We'd like to speak with Miss Mary Norris.
You're seeing her. Come in. Don't you all stand out there in the west. Suppose now put the kettle up.
You don't seem to understand, Miss Norris. Now, we're from State Welfare.
Investigations Department.
Now, these are your signatures, then, on her checks.
Whose else would they be?
Now, look, Miss Norris, signing and cashing someone else's assistance checks is
Now,
not
ma'am,
a...
That can constitute forgery.
Time you all stop the talking down to me, young man. Sign Granny Zookie's checks for her? Of course I do. How in creation else did she get 'em cashed?
Ain't you young gentlemen had your tea yet? Oh.
Yeah, you cancel. We got along without 'em before, and we can again.
The lady was blind. Did you see that?
I guess she was blind.
Now, look, why don't we just forget about the whole thing?
Can you imagine that sort? Bothering with a pair of us?
I'm afraid of getting old. I think most of us are. The fear of becoming obsolete is so widespread that the old among us represent a threat, an affront, a reminder that our body won't always remain smooth and responsive, that it will someday betray us, wrinkling, faltering, and finally failing.
Darling, can I see the ball? How old are you, sweetheart? 5 years old? You're 5 years old. What's your name, darling? Huh? What's your name, sweetheart?
I'm sorry
What
for
is your name?
disturbing you.
I'm sorry. She's not bothering me.
Come along,
I wanted
Sarah.
to play with her. I wanted to play with the child. I wanted to play with the boy. You ever see anything like that? Don't get upset. You can't play with a child.
The White House Council on Aging drew a profile of the average citizen over 65. He or she are probably not working and without adequate income, without a high school education, exist on Social Security and no private pension, and add, living in fear. All this in a nation that worships, promotes, and merchandises youth. Maybe the ideal way to grow old in this country would be to grow slowly invisible, gradually disappearing without causing a ripple of worry or discomfort for the young. Thank you.
Do you mind if I talk to you?
I think she's the one that just checked in.
Look, lady, have a heart. It ain't even 7 a.m. yet.
Harry and me never talk to each other till maybe noon.
Harry and Al didn't exactly seek my company. We met over a salt shaker, not far from their hotel. The same one, it turns out, that I just checked into for a few days. This was my second stay in New York, after a year of research into the lives of old people, during which I had worked at a nursing home and then as a visiting nurse. The hotel I picked had a red neon sign flashing, "Pensioners Welcome," plus a paranoid desk clerk, the gutless wonder.
Go play welfare inspector somewhere else, Miss Bleeding Heart.
The sign outside says vacancies. I'd like to see a room. With a bath, if you have one.
No need to be nasty. We don't normally handle day trade. This is a resident hotel.
He doesn't have anything to worry about then. Just a lot of nice old people that's living here.
A lot of them?
It's quite a few of them. Is there anything else you want to know?
Think she's some kind of a Jesus nut?
Something kind of mental.
Harry and Al were professional survivors. They saw only what was right in front of them. They asked no questions, felt no anger, demanded no love. They made do, concentrating on keeping body and soul intact. I tried explaining that I only wanted to share their company for a few days, believing they had something to teach me about the way people lived in their late years. I finally broke the ice when I happened to vent my anger about the hotel desk clerk.
Oh, him. Must have soured his mother's milk, that son of a bitch. He'd steal from anyone, even from the dying.
Eddie knew his time was up, and all he wanted to do was to die in peace.
When Eddie finally dies, Gutless steals his clothes. Would have stolen his teeth if we'd have let him.
A man can't go to his grave without his teeth.
Ah, what's the difference?
Yeah, way it goes.
Dog eat dog.
You know, you've got to do something about a low-down, venal bastard like that.
Yeah, go change the world.
Yeah. All you kids. Talk dirty and change the world. Let me tell you, it's 100 times worse over there in Russia. I'm hungry. I need an extra dime. Penny.
Maybe you can help a little girl who's trying to get to the vet hospital. Maybe you can help an old man get to the hospital.
I need a donut and a cup of coffee, mister.
Hello there, mister. I'm trying to get to the vet hospital.
Harry and Al had been loners together for many years. Together they had mastered the skills of city survival, the secret of how to keep moving while conserving energy.
See what I mean? Work it right and you never have to starve. Too damn proud to talk to me and too scared to tell me to beat it. So they pay.
But I got a busted knee. Shrapnel, you know. Oh, it's pains me something awful. I'm trying to get to the Veterans Hospital.
Generally, working the street pays better than straight panhandle.
Not if you do it right, it don't.
Yeah. Easy, Ace. Ace Griffin.
Secret of the success to look like you have one foot in the grave, see? But proud. The easiest marks are the businessmen types. Then, the loners.
Especially goofy young ones like you, kid.
Yeah.
But what about the cops? You know, don't they hassle you?
The cops? Here's to the men in blue. This fellow, he's been going to all these fancy Park Avenue doctors. He had one of those weird kind of voices. He talks like, you know. What kind of a day you think it's gonna be tomorrow? Not one of these big high-priced specialists can do anything for him. Then one day he runs into an old buddy of his. And this buddy says, "Did you ever try blowing your nose?" he says to him. Like this. And now he talks like you and me.
Hey.
Hold on, get a smoke.
Hey. You all right?
Oh, yeah, I was just getting a little drink here.
That was a good one, wasn't it? You know, that one reminds me of this young millionaire. Got it into his head he had to know the meaning of life. First he went to his priest, and he says to his priest, "Do you know the meaning of..."
For Christ's sake, Harry, she'd be an old lady till you finish that one. Let's go over to the bucket of blood. We'll have a few drinks. That'll cheer her up.
Anyhow, after going to all kinds of priests and rabbis and philosophers and asking them to tell him what's the meaning of life, by now he's over 50, and nobody able to give him the answer, the millionaire, he finally puts it to the Pope himself, in Rome, right?
The Pope wasn't in it last week.
Oh, you get it now, clam up, huh? Well, the guy goes berserk. He grabs this little old guru by his beard, pulling him and yanking him round the mountaintop, and the scared little old guru, he says, "You mean life is not a wet bird?"
Mary, Mary, plain as anybody could see, in propriety, said Marie, 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 Marie.
Knows how to have himself a good time. Al's okay, ain't he? Yeah. And you know something? He didn't sleep a wink last night. Bad dreams.
In the morning, does he tell you about them?
No, he never does. Ain't the first time, neither, that I hear him cry out in the middle of the night. I don't know, but I think maybe he's got him a kid somewheres way back. Water under the bridge. Talks cheap. Hey, what do you say? This ain't a bad pub, huh? You know something? Me and him, we got a pact that if Al or me ever gets so damn sick he turns into a vegetable, the other one just puts him out of his misery with a pillow. Shrug. Fast. Never feel a thing.
Harry?
Hey, Squifter, old Al. Real buddy-o. He'll always watch out for your blind side, know what I mean?
Harry, I've got to leave.
Leave.
Tomorrow. I'm checking out in the morning. I've just got to get home.
Garbage. Who wants to hear that garbage? Al. Al. Hey, Al. Hey, Al. Ain't talk cheap, huh? Ain't talk cheap, Al. Come on, Al.
Oh, we're going home, huh? I was having such a good time.
Come on.
I collected these things long ago because they filled some need or other, or because they were beautiful to have around. Once we had a huge house, rooms and rooms of lovely things, necessary things for the wife of a busy, successful man, the mother of 2 wonderful children. Oh, I was a gracious hostess. We used to sponsor cultural events. Life then seemed to call for so many objects, props, you might say, required by my roles then. What you see around is nothing, really. I saved so little of it all. Nowadays, they just take time and energy to care for. And you know, the older I get, the more hemmed in I feel by all this stuff. Really, what need do I have for them now? Listen, maybe I never did. I wonder, all the books I put aside to read later, oh, I left too many things for later. Plenty of time for new things later, I told myself. Well, my interest is still there. Only a concentration is so difficult some days. My lapses of memory so frustrating. Imagine forgetting names, places, confusing days of the week. First sign of senility, isn't that what they say? I'm realizing that old age can rob you of sedentary pleasures like reading as well. So, please tell me, what is the good in growing old? Oh, I see a few friends, I still travel a little, but I simply cannot see any logic in being old. Youth, middle age, those years have their compensations. Sure, you made sacrifices. You gladly gave up things for your marriage, your children, but always there was something returned for your pain and troubles. Something. There was a balance. That's it, a balance. But where is the balance now? I see them right here in my neighborhood. Old people with money enough to pay for the best of care. I see them sick, incapacitated, being pushed in wheelchairs by board attendants. For what? All that suffering for nothing. Believe me, for less than nothing. Only draining the energies of others. Tell me why. Why must we become old and useless? It may sound uncivilized, but before science extended our lifespan, people could die before they became disgusting. Want to hear a little secret? Every day I permit myself 5 minutes of self-pity. Why not? Small enough indulgence, only 5 minutes. When I was a girl, we used to attend an Orthodox synagogue where people could weep and wail, scream at the heavens. Sorrows set free, shared with others. Nowadays, I don't know. Emotions are held so privately. Or have they been trained out of us? Maybe I'm old-fashioned, but I would like just once again to weep and wail, to scream my head off for everything I wanted and missed, for everything I lost and failed to do. Now, don't misunderstand. I'm content. I'm 72, and I'm content more times than not. But I have my moments when I feel a certain sorrow.
I heard Jenny's questions, felt something of her fears, admired her anger. Questions and doubts that came so late. Must old age have a purpose? I ran into another old woman who was also burdened by things. You've seen them around, alone in crowds, stubbornly alone with their shopping bags.
Sorry, lady. Senior citizen fairs end at 4 o'clock.
Just 4 now. Says so in the store window.
Listen, I don't care what it says in the store window. In here, it's 10 after. 20 cents more, lady.
What's it to you, sonny? Don't sweat off your nose. Do you ever think maybe your damn watch is wrong?
Come on, I got people waiting.
Would you do this to your own mother? Yeah, I bet you would if you had one. What are you all staring at? Wait. Someday you'll all be old and ugly. More dead than alive, most of you. Ugly as sin, but I once had a real life. Get out of the way for the corner now.
Old age paints every action gray, lies heavy on every movement, confines each thought. It governs with a ruthless, single-minded perversity. To be old is to be aware of no longer growing, of struggling to remember familiar actions and one's easy tasks. Slowly the body seems to give up, stopping and starting as if to tease us. Brain cells are laid waste by thousands of tiny, unfelt strokes, clots wiping out abilities without warning. Hands become clumsy, ribbed transparencies knotted by veins. A time comes when the distance between our steps and the ground deceives us, as if the earth itself can no longer be taken for granted. While the body draws in on itself, the eyes strain outward. They react more slowly to changes in light, unable to focus instantaneously. The iris fades, the cornea becomes less transparent, and the eyelids droop, causing the eyes to look smaller. Our loss of hearing is less noticeable at first, but our ability to receive high-pitched sound weakens. Entirely normal and natural, the aging process is an accumulation of losses to which we try and accommodate in socially acceptable ways. Still, there is nothing that prepares us for the experience of growing old, for the time when the world seems to speed up and become a confusion of change, when it narrows as family and friends move away or die. Accidents kill, cancer kills, bullets kill, coronary occlusions kill, but nobody dies just because of old age.
Yes, I suppose you are.
What's that, Mr. Vadio?
That is a regular nurse. The first thing they always ask for is newspapers to spread.
You had your doubts then.
Look, why don't I give you a different part of the paper? The front section is so full of bad news already.
Come to think of it, why use any newspaper at all? I mean, your table is spotless.
Well, I'm pretty good at housekeeping by now, but I'll tell you, it didn't come easy for me. Before she got sick, my wife always got such pleasure in waiting on me, making everything comfortable and nice. I knew when she was unable to manage for herself, she wouldn't want anybody but me doing things in here. She likes radio music, opera especially. Ma's developed a near passion for opera in the last few years.
Would you mind giving me a hand with this?
Oh, sure. The regular nurse showed me how. Look, see? No bed sores. Not once since Mama came back from the hospital. I keep her clean, give her a bath regularly. I had them remove the tube from her, kept giving her infection, you know. It's going to be all right, Mama.
Except for her fingers, the woman never moved, never made a sound. Yet you knew she was listening. At one time or another during the years since a stroke had immobilized Mrs. Vadio, doctors, social agencies, and even her children suggested that she be placed in a home. But her husband had turned away from any such argument. Sitting there at the table, I couldn't resist probing a bit to see if some part of him wanted to be free of his burden. But all I discovered was complete devotion.
We were very young. 45 years ago.
Was that your first girl?
Don't tell her. Always, when anything happened, well, there wasn't the world outside at all. It's just what were we going to do about each other? Yeah, we've been together in both sickness and in health.
Why not, Alexander? Such a great name for a slip of a girl. Call her Alexander if you like.
There was over 60 years difference between us. She had been my friend before events made me her nurse. We had met at a lecture, had lunch together several times talking about public figures, politics. She taught mathematics for 30 years to disinterested adolescents. Never, she said, had she found a pupil who truly grasped the beauty of numbers. Like mathematics, she herself was pared down to the essentials. She felt I was radical and unkempt, and I thought her rigid and elitist. But I was very fond of her, with no idea of why she liked me. Her passion was bridge. She became ill at a bridge tournament. An ambulance had to be called. She went directly from 6 hours of tournament bridge to 2 hours of surgery. The operation, however, was a complete success physically. It wasn't until 3 days later that the other problem began.
A lovely concept. So simple. A lovely concept. Not one of you? Isn't there any one of you that can grasp it? Oh, it is all in the problem. Don't you see? Analyze, then synthesize. Analyze, then synthesize. Can't you see? Analyze, then synthesize. Analyze, then synthesize. Oh, no. Oh, don't you see, please? What is the matter? Why don't you understand? There is beauty in figures. Great beauty. Oh, can't you? Please, please, come and see. Oh, no. Beauty in figures. Oh, no.
Good morning. Another day. It's gonna be a gorgeous day today. The sun's out. Very weak, but otherwise all right by day. At night, she'd enter a world seen only by her, a condition called sundowning in geriatric wards. Not uncommon for the very old who one day find themselves no longer in control over their own lives, confined in a cold, alien environment.
These drugs, what am I being given every night? My God, it's so awful. Pimply-faced students staring up at me again. One moment, 5, sitting in my father's lap. Next, on a train with a cinder in my eye, arguing with my father again about graduate school. Please let me go. I could be a great mathematician. If it's going to be like this every night, I just as well die. I can't relive my life again. I can't be strong all over again.
That's good. Fine. That's fine. It's just fine. Fine.
Stop saying that. Fine, what fine?
You're not quite ready for the ice volleys, but better than yesterday.
Please take me home. You take drugs, don't you? Don't lie to me, young lady. You're the type. Think it's great, don't you? Expands the mind. Rubbish. Well, I'm not taking anything you give me. You people trying to drive me crazy, drive me into one of those malignant places where old people die. That's what you want, isn't it? Is that what you want? Oh. Please, tell me what's happening. Oh. What
are they doing to me?
That old woman, she has gone crazy. Managing to know why I wear white, why my hair's dyed green. And would you imagine she keeps insisting that I put drugs in her water? I mean, how many more weeks can I take of this?
Now, I am paying $60 a night for a sleeping beauty. Wake up! You are incredible.
It's not as if she has any other choice.
As convalescent homes go, this one's highly recommended. Didn't you say, Doctor?
Yes.
In view of the hospital's need for beds and her inability to care for herself alone in her apartment, Emily Larson was faced with our society's final solution for helpless old age.
You're lucky, Emily. We found the ideal place. And the doctor says you can have your favorite nurse here to stay with you until you're settled. See? It's all been taken care of for you. Now, just a few little questions, dear. I can't get over how spry you look. Now, your social security number. Do you think she understands me?
Only too well. I'm afraid she tunes you out when you called her by her first name. She considers that impertinent. As nursing homes go, Montcliff was clean and well-equipped, modern by any standards, designed to receive public funds and produce private profits. By law, like fire exits, it had a registered nurse, but most of the thankless work was done by aides. Almost upon entering, I found myself recalling the old Doyle place of my childhood.
You gonna be a good girl for me today? It's all right. I'm gonna take you to the park.
Yeah. Is it good?
Yes, it's good. Okay, can I have one back? Ah, big girl.
Here we are, dearie. Now, right over here, it's a place where you can keep all your things right next to the bed. Just tuck it all away. Don't put anything on top, though. It looks so messy, cluttered up. And before the afternoon is over, I'm sure you'll be right at home with your new roommate.
Sure.
Won't she, dearie, right?
She'll be good. She's gonna go to the bathroom nice and quiet. She wouldn't disturb.
Well, you just get your rest, Emily, dear.
Can you sing? Come on, give us a song. Schijn wie de levona, licht ik wie de sterren. Come on, help me out. What kind of a roommate? Fin hemel amatone, aus dem jetzigen Schick. No answer, what's the matter with the lady?
Our experience shows that adherence to routine encourages independence and rehabilitation.
Well, if Miss Larson's been one thing all of her life, it's been independence.
Well, things change. And now we have to help her, don't we?
What you're asking me to do, if I understand you correctly, is try to get her to fit into things around here, is that it?
What I'm suggesting is that she's going to have to be like everyone else at Montcliff. So the best thing you can do for your Miss Larson is to stop her dependence on you real quick. Bath time in this wing. Showers, actually. Twice a week without fail. Linens changed at the same time.
You naughty girl, you keep those legs covered.
Here we have the clean machine. This is the way we wash our hair. Wash our hair, wash our hair. This is the way we wash our hair.
I can't bathe myself.
Shower, Miss
Leave me alone. I haven't nurse my own nurse. Sharon! Sharon! Keep them away from me. Can't you keep them away? Young lady, why are you so rough this morning?
Her demands never let up, and the head nurse's almost daily lectures about her dependents began to undermine our relationship. I left work that day, feeling guilty about the resentment I felt, filled with images of myself, old one day.
$765 in the jackpot, 8 players left for $7,500. But the people of Vernon Township, New Jersey seem confused. Is it because they have 4 different telephone companies, only one taxi cab, or no car?
Along with twice-weekly baths, enemas, and sleeping pills, Montcliff provided a part-time recreational therapist.
The sun in your eyes, dear, here. Let me move your chair. Sally, you're wearing your new robe. Oh, it's darling. Now, don't forget, girls, tomorrow, the flower arrangement show. Just the most wonderful Japanese man.
Miss Miles' programs were held in a room Miss Larson called the parking lot. She absolutely refused to set foot in it, saying that many old bodies just staring at TV is an undertaker's dream.
Get me out of this. Get me out of here. Get me out of here immediately. How dare they keep me from relieving myself.
What in the world were you doing? You're trying to jump out of bed. The charge nurse said that you were...
Oh, the charge nurse. The bits book and wall, you mean?
Why didn't you just ring for help?
Ring, I did ring. Nobody came. Nobody does at night. They even hide the bell cord. Do you know that? No, you don't. I can see it in your face. Don't I have any rights? Not even to relieve myself by myself? No. I'm old and feeble. And I'm supposed to accept, shut up, submit to everything they impose. Do that, and they say, good girl.
Don't you just love parties? We really have to have holiday celebrations like this more often, don't you think? To heck with the expense, I say. All right, everyone. Happy Halloween! Celebrate, everybody. You look great.
Everybody up and do your Halloween, Halloween.
Oh,
Everybody up and do your Halloween thing.
Look, I love
Everybody
this one.
up and do
How
your
about
Halloween
this red devil?
thing.
That's cute, Miss Green. And yellow, oh,
everybody
wonderful
march like a
colors.
monster,
Oh,
monster.
good. Hi, Charlie
Everybody march
Chaplin.
like the monsters do. Everybody march like a monster, monster. When you hear the drum say, dance up on your toes like a fairy, fairy. Dance up on your toes like the fairies do. Dance up on your toes like a fairy, fairy. When you hear the drum say,
Pretty snazzy place you got here.
Any real change for the aged in America will come about when they rise up angry and become a movement.
Rise up. You gotta be dreaming, lady.
Organized with a new consciousness, the political power of 21 million elderly Americans would be a force to be reckoned with.
She ought to be examined, that one.
Hey, Al.
You don't want to play rummy.
I'm ready.
We're going to play your game, Mel. 5 cards, draw with a joke a while. All right?
Deal.
Come.
Good.
Would you gentlemen happen to be bridge players?
Poor woman doesn't seem to know where she is. Look for her coat. Hurry. They're beside themselves back at Moncrief. How she got past the nurses is beyond me.
Is it serious?
Very. I don't think she realizes how serious.
No.
No, no, not on your life, I'm not. You're not getting me back in that place.
There, dear. Catch your breath.
You're among friends.
Forever hovering over those poor old souls with your simpering smiles and whispers. Lord, what a way to die.
Quick, she looks terrible.
You don't look so hot yourself, lady. You heard what she said. She don't want to go with you.
If you're friends of hers, please reason with her. Every moment longer she remains out of bed could be.
These little tin bombs.
She has
Always
advanced coursing on.
whispering. What in the name of heaven is wrong with the word cancer, young woman? Use it.
Okay, kid. Get lost.
As a child, I felt growing old was pretty much the same as growing up. Simply the gain or loss of a little something each year. Then, Grandfather absent-mindedly set his closet on fire, and Granny suffered a broken hip. So solemn family meetings were held to discuss what to do with the old folks.
Are you sure? Absolutely sure? I can be awfully trying at times. It can become terribly bothersome at the end, you know. And then there's all that business with the funeral. Oh, but that's all attended to. I made all arrangements. When was that now? Anyhow, it's all settled and paid for.
Don't you all have problems enough? Nothing's more depressing for anyone to have to witness, much less...
A bunch of old people?
Yes. Especially with trained professionals available.
Oh, my dear, I can't imagine anything more depressing than white-coated professionals and antiseptic corridors. That's the way we were ushered into this life. For myself, I'd much prefer being ushered out by some creaky old amateurs.
The music will be Mozart.
Ah, that's Mama's favorite.
And a brief reading from Yeats.
Yeats. Oh, such a nice choice.
The fiver. Hand it over, Buster.
Oh, come on. The 5 slipped you back there.
We can use it a hell of a lot more than you can, kiddo.
I'll probably wind up looking like a Halloween witch.
Live to be 100, and you'll get a birthday card from the president.
Is this anything like 500 rummy?
Patience, patience. You'll see. Bridge has such a lovely logic. Really simple. Such a lovely concept once you grasp it. Oh.